Hey everyone, it's Justice, and I want to talk about consumerism in really any stationary community. At first, I wanted to talk about it in the planner community because that's what I follow a lot of. Um, but I do also follow like scrapbookers, I follow just people who like to journal. And among all of the stationary based communities, there is a lot of consumerism. So let's kind of delve into that. One thing I do want to note about this before I voice my thoughts is I am using a lot of products. I'm using things that I like to use, that I use on a regular basis, and some of those things are more pricey than others. And that's referring to some of my fountain pens because I know a lot of people tend to just use the pens that they like, and mine just happened to be a bit more expensive. So before I talk about this, please note that I use up the supplies that I like. I have purchased a lot of things that don't get use, and this is mainly about that. So I was kind of turned on to the idea of thinking more about what you buy in terms of crafts from two people. The first of which was Girl and a Quill, Miss Anna. She is the founder of the stationary minimalism hashtag. Sorry, I had like a brain fart there for a little bit. And additionally, Cindy Gunter Baldo. Cindy Gunter Baldo does a lot of videos on just products, but she does this because she is a big believer in researching what you buy before you buy it to see if it'll be right for you, rather than just buying a ton of things and hoping that they work. But a lot of my ideas are based on what I've learned from these two wonderful women, so definitely don't think I'm like trying to steal anything or anything like that. But in terms of my life and what I've been kind of going through in my own journey of using things up, started back whenever Marie Kondo released her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Because out of my belongings, I didn't have very many clothes to begin with. I didn't have very many shoes to begin with, just because I'm that type of person. But stationery. Ooh, girl, I had so much stationery. And I started kind of getting rid of things here and there. Like, I had tons of scrapbook papers. I had tons of those sticker books that you can get from Michael's where there's like 500 stickers and just that kind of stuff. And I don't use those. Many people do, which is why they are such successful products, but it doesn't go well with me. And so I gave them to friends. And a big thing that I'm having to learn is whenever I do go to the store, whenever I do go shopping, yeah, I love to go to the stationery aisle and see what everyone's talking about, but I don't use that. And I think that that's something everyone should think about in their head. So, a great example was this weekend. I went to Michael's with my boyfriend, and I was looking at a lot of the Fudenosuke brush markers. I was looking at the planners, like the happy planners and the stickers and all the pretty rings, and just the entire sticker aisle. And we were there for like an hour, like half an hour, somewhere around there. And I just kept leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back and just changing aisles so that I wouldn't stay there too long because I knew if I stayed there, I would talk myself into getting something. And I even put something in my hand. I think it was just like a 3 brush set of some brush pen markers. And I do use those. I love brush pen markers. But I also have a fountain pen with a flex nib, and I have plenty of ink that I can use instead of buying that. And so I kind of had to talk myself down and be like, Justice, do you really need this? And so I left with nothing. I sure had a really good time, but I left with nothing. And I feel really proud about that Like, that to me is the equivalent of I went to this party and there was cake and I didn't eat it. I only had the vegetable tray. Like, yeah, it's not as fun, but it's better for you. And maybe that analogy isn't the best. Like, say I had the vegetable tray, but definitely indulged in the ranch. Because I have a lot of fun stuff. I just don't need more. I don't need excess. I don't need to Americanize it, you know? I can accept what I have and love it. Like, I have probably a zillion, in scientific terms, bottles of ink that need to be used up. I have a lot of colored pencils that need to be used up from whenever I was in art school. I have a couple brush markers that still work that aren't dried out yet. And I have graphite, I have chalk, I have all of this stuff. And they need love. I don't need to add another thing to my life just to do something that I can do on a budget, anyways. Like, a lot of what I like to do, which you can see in this video, which you have seen in this video, is clip out really beautiful pieces from magazines that I just get. Some magazines that I really, really like are the Airbnb magazines, and I don't have a prescription. Wow, I don't have a subscription, but I get them from workplaces when they switch them out, or if I go to like a doctor's office or something, I'll be like, hey, like, can I take this magazine? It's pretty out of date. And most of the time they say yes, they don't care. And so I'll take it, I'll cut out what I want. Another thing you can do if you are, what's the word I'm looking for? Still a student. A lot of times people will be getting rid of old textbooks, and it won't even be like a, hey, I used this textbook this year and I don't need it anymore. Do you want it? Do you want to buy it? More like, these are completely outdated. I'm going to put them on the end of a table with a free sign to see if someone just wants it for extra reading material. There was that all the time where I went to school. So you can just grab a ton of them and cut out the example pictures and use them as backgrounds. Like, that's super helpful. And it's free. And it's a type of recycling, kind of, question mark. But you can get a lot of pictures that you wouldn't otherwise get from doing that. And while I'm here, I got distracted, but I covered up the lady's face on this part of the spread because it was freaking me out having her stare at me. And normally it'd be fine. I just got a weird feeling about this picture specifically, so I covered her up. And again, that reminded me a lot of Cindy Gunterballo because she does not like having things look at her. But I'm going to wrap this up here because at this point I'm just rambling. I lost some footage, so here's a little review of what I wrote. Essentially, just think about your purchases. You don't need to buy things. You're being marketed to everywhere. Even in this video, there's a lot of products. But thank you, and be sure to come back.